Hello and welcome into the show. This is Unadvised here on Sports Animal, YouTube, Facebook, wherever you get your podcasts. I'm Preston Poole. That is Tyler Adams Teabag. Follow us on Twitter at Tyler's Takes, at Preston Poole 405, at Unadvised Pod is the podcast page. We are live here with you guys on week one, Tuesday of week one, Teabag. So what do you want to get into today?
Well, football's back, Preston. Officially, we had some really good week zero games, actually. You know, everyone's kind of making fun of the slate a little, but 3 out of the 4 games, I was only really able to watch the Georgia Tech, Florida State game, which I know we'll talk about, and the end, like the fourth quarter of the SMU Nevada game. But just kind of remember we were all kind of making fun of that slate, myself included, just like, not really much for me, but they were all great games outside Hawaii and Delaware State, which was late night on paper.
I'll be honest, the last 20 seconds of you talking, I had the YouTube stream open on my computer as well, so I was hearing you say it twice, so I definitely didn't understand a word you just said. But yes, week zero. I'm getting close to 30. I need to learn how to use a computer again. But yeah, week zero was. I thought it was interesting. You know, obviously Florida State, the New Mexico and South Dakota game. Like you mentioned, it wasn't like the best football, but it was football, right?
You know what it was? Me and you went to dinner at like Mahogany Steakhouse or something, or Mickey Mantle's. We went somewhere really nice, and like the appetizer just hit the spot. We're still waiting for the steaks to come out and the sides, and all the good stuff. But that appetizer we ordered, we were kind of questioning it, but it was like, that was a good call. That was a good call right there.
Yes, that is. I mean, I think you just hit the nail right on the head. All right, so let's get into some breaking news as of earlier this afternoon. DeMarco Murray is suspended for game 1 of the season for the Sooners as OU gets hit with recruiting violations.
Yeah, that's
very interesting.
Yeah, I mean, the NCAA is just such it's so stupid at this point. I know, obviously.
Apparently, these were self-reported violations, by the way, too.
Hey, OSU basketball did self-reported violations and led to a postseason ban. So
that is true.
They don't care if it's self-reported. If you get caught, your punishment's going to be your punishment. But just think it's funny how you can offer a kid $500,000 to come play for your school, but God forbid you send them a text message when you're technically not supposed to. So I mean, it's no big deal. I also saw that they can't have recruits unofficial visits during the Temple game, which is the game's on Friday night. All the recruits have games, so that's the least punishment. Like that's like slap on the wrist, but it's literally just like one finger slap. It's not even a full slap. They got one finger slap. So NCAA is just a joke. So.
This is OU's first move, though, in the SEC, right? This is the first big, breaking news that we had for the Sooners.
Got to play dirty sometimes.
Yeah, right. I mean, they hit the Southeastern Conference, and all of a sudden they have recruiting violations. So some would say he probably should have sent more text messages and more phone calls, maybe some DMs as well. Well, you can miss 2 games. Come on. If they're only going to give you 1 game for that, I think we go a little bit further. Who doesn't love a little cheating anyways in college football? I think everyone loves a little bit of that. I just thought that was a weird story that came out today. I'm just sitting on Twitter scrolling, and then I see from NCAA public relations, Oklahoma football track and field hit with violations. I said, uh-oh. But it again, it's a big nothing burger to, I think, about everyone.
If anyone now, I say I'm giving out a good idea. Sorry, getting a phone call here. Scam likely. If anyone has a good idea, or if anyone's wanting to look for a good idea, I'll give you one right now. Make Freedom Marco shirts and set up a little pop-up tent, right there on campus corner, and sell them before the games. I don't know if
maybe
you need
we can get
license to, but
maybe we can get the Sports Animal to do that
with the Sports Animal logo and Unadvised Pod under it.
That would be perfect. Yeah, let my boy DeMarco out on the sidelines for the first game. Other stuff that I guess it's been a slow week news wise for college football, other than this DeMarco Murray stuff dropping today. But Danny Stutzman and Nick Martin getting their NIL game on. They dropped a new commercial with the local meat company. They had dogs in their stomach. It was hot dogs, and look, I'm all for the creativity. I thought it was pretty funny.
Yeah, last year it was Kendall Daniels and Drake Stoops.
Yeah,
doing like the Namaste yoga stuff. Excuse me. And yes, this year was the dog in the stomach. They got that dog in them. But when I was watching that, I was just kind of thinking to myself, in the state of Oklahoma right now, we got two of the baddest men at linebacker in college football with Nick Martin and Danny Stutzman. I mean, I think they're both. I mean, obviously Danny Stutzman is. Nick Martin came on the scene kind of towards the middle of the year last year, that Kansas State game primarily, and then kind of took off from there. And then Danny Stutzman's obviously been, a really good player for the last couple of years. He's going to be an NFL guy. I think Nick Martin, I think he has potential when it's all said and done after this season to have people be like, that's Malcolm Rodriguez type level when you're talking, Mike Gundy linebackers. So it's pretty impressive. And the fact they're both doing the Schwab with the dog in them, I think is very fitting.
Yes, I thought it was quite funny seeing them with just the X-rays in their stomach with just hot dogs in there. So shout out them for
those are also the two of the most interesting guys you can hang out with too, because Gary Murdoch, for example, today on the show was just talking about how weird Danny Stutzman is and how Gary's just convinced that Danny Stutzman just goes into every day just saying like, how can I weird people out today? So I guess yesterday they're doing the media breakoff sessions with the players, and Danny Stutzman just had all the media walk from one corner of the end zone to another and said, all right, this is a good spot. So it's just what he does. And then Nick Martin, obviously, just has all those like crazy slippers and, that crazy, outfits that he wears and stuff. And yeah, so they're definitely two of the stranger minds as well in college football.
Well, look, you got to be a weirdo to play middle linebacker.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
So, it comes with the position. So, all right, let's get into that week 0 game. The biggest one, I guess we could talk about. Florida State loses to Georgia Tech in Dublin, Ireland. DJ Uiagalelei is who we thought he was. He is not the best quarterback. And yet again showed it there in Dublin last weekend, or I guess this past weekend.
Yeah, it's almost like whenever you're 4 years into college on your third school, you just kind of are who everyone says you are.
Yeah.
Obviously, I know he has like some potential here. Like, it's almost like not the Jalen Milroe, because he can't sling it like Jalen Milroe can, but just kind of like everyone's like, well, the potential's there. It's like, well, at some point,
we've already seen it by now.
Potential's going to have to play out. So he is who he is. I still think Florida State can be a decent football team. I don't necessarily think they're a playoff team. I think they can, rebound from this. I will say this, Georgia Tech, I didn't bet on them, but I did bet on over 5 wins, because not that I know a lot about Georgia Tech football, the ins and outs, but kind of whenever I listen to football previews and stuff throughout this, the spring and summer, everyone's saying, hey, Georgia Tech's going to be a team that's going to be, in the mix in the ACC. They're returning a lot of guys. They think they have a really good head coach, and I think obviously they do because they're playing disciplined, hard football. So I bet Georgia Tech over 5 wins, so 5 more, and we cash that ticket, baby. So excited to see the Yellow Jackets get that one, and the memes coming out of that one too were fun. Did you see the dancing videos that Florida State was doing before, and then Georgia Tech was mocking after? That was just great. That was great.
Yes, I did see that. Someone in the chat says, would you like to see OU or OSU over in Ireland? No. That's something that never needs to happen.
Did you see what next year's game is?
I did not.
Kansas State, Iowa State, Farmageddon. Week 0 in Ireland. You got Kansas State and Iowa State.
That might be the most fitting game to ever be played in Ireland. Farmageddon. That's perfect.
That talk about a culture shock hitting Dublin. You got those Kansas.
Not going to be too many Bush beers around for the fans there.
Like, what is this Guinness crap? That one's going to be perfect next year for week 0. I'm already so excited for that.
That is, I did not know that.
I learned that this week, and they're advertising it kind of throughout the game. I saw.
That is pretty cool. Anything else on that game? I thought Georgia Tech was just able to run all over Florida State. Look, Florida State spent all offseason complaining and moaning that, we got left out of the playoffs, blah, blah, blah. And then they go and they put that on the field. And I felt so vindicated in my belief that they didn't get screwed missing the playoffs. They weren't the same team without their starting quarterback. And it just all that came true and made me feel good on Saturday.
I've always, for whatever reason, have just hated Florida State. There's no rhyme or reason to it. They played OSU back in 2014, but my hate for them went on way before that.
Yeah.
So like I really have no rhyme or reason why I hate Florida State. I just always have hated them. Like they are up there with just like I don't root against them pretty much against anyone. Like if they're to play Texas, I mean that's like I don't know. I might be losing for Texas. I don't know what is. I just don't like Florida State. Last year, my hatred amplified for them because I understand why the fans were mad and all that. They're acting like babies, but then like they go out and just the way they handled that whole thing and stuff last year. And I was like you, I was under the belief like 4 best teams are supposed to be in the playoff. Yes, has the committee not followed that every year? No. Like yes, like I understand, but plain and simple, the job of the committee was to get the 4 best teams in, and Florida State was not one of the 4 best teams, as that playoff showed last year, because that was the best playoff we probably had.
Yeah, no, it was fantastic, and I guess you could say the good thing. And by the way, Kirk Herbstreit just got on Twitter after that game and absolutely torched Florida State. It was awesome.
A lot of people are having their victory laps with that one.
Yeah. Yes. And then Georgia Tech tweeted out a video the next day of everyone on game day basically not picking them. They definitely took a victory lap out there for sure. I'm trying to think anything else from this game. What do you think about the Ireland game in a whole, I guess?
I mean, I like it in the sense of, week 0. I know that's like people have their thoughts on that. And like I was saying, it's like when we were talking about week 0 last week, it's like, I'm not going to get all too excited for it yet because the full thing's not here. But once because I was at the lake on Saturday and it was 2:15 and we're still watching the game. Usually people are on the boat by then.
Yeah.
And I just remember I was just like, holy crap. Like we're watching like conference, ACC conference football right now, conference game right now. And it is going down to it's going to go down to the last play. I was like, this is awesome. So I think this weekend really kind of changed my tune on it because the last 2 games, it was a Navy versus Notre Dame last year, the Northwestern Nebraska 2 years ago were just terrible. This year it was awesome. It was great to watch. And next year I think it's going to be another awesome one with Kansas State, Iowa State. I mean, that's a rivalry that's always fighting tooth and nail. So I like it. I like it. Subject to change though. If it's another bad game, like that was the stupidest thing ever.
If my team was playing it, I would hate it. But watching other teams is a whole lot more fun in that game. I hope next year that they add a couple more games on week 0.
Mm-hmm.
Don't just tease us with that one and then throw New Mexico and South Dakota and SMU, Nevada. By the way, SMU, no clue what they were even trying to do in that football game. It was just atrocious football being played by them until like the very end of the 4th quarter where they finally pulled away and won.
Yeah, I wanted them to lose that so bad because SMU is just one of those snobby schools where they bought their way into the ACC.
Literally, yes.
Like literally bought their way to the SEC or ACC, and I just wanted to go out there. I thought it'd be funny if they would have gotten embarrassed in their first game, but I mean, credit to them, they pulled out in the 4th quarter. But still not under the belief after watching that kind of offensive line not really be able to handle their own against Nevada. I was like, Once conference play starts for the boys and they're going to get TCU and another non-conference game and stuff, I was like, it might be a little bit of a dread for them.
And like literally everyone was saying during the game, if you have 2 quarterbacks, you don't have
one. Yeah.
So they need to figure that out. And then I watched every single game. I got pumped up. I even stayed up till 11 p.m. to watch the Hawaii game. I go to turn the Hawaii game on. It's not on YouTube TV. I didn't know where to find it. So I was like, screw it. I guess I'm not watching this Hawaii game.
Yeah, it was pay-per-view. I was so looking forward to it. And then I realized it was pay-per-view.
Yeah.
I was I'm not buying it.
Exactly. I said, no, I think I'll pass on that one. And move on. So for this week, games start Thursday night. There's a couple of games, but one that really sticks out to me is Colorado taking on North Dakota State. I think that's probably going to be the best game on Thursday night. You do have other teams like NC State, Utah, Missouri, Kansas. They all play Thursday night, but they play against teams that they should handle very, very easily. So, I mean, what are your, I guess, thoughts here on this Colorado North Dakota State game that'll be on, whenever we're live streaming, so we'll be able to watch that as it's going on.
I mean, I'm really excited for the Colorado North Dakota State game. Deion Sanders, North Dakota State's obviously a very good program in the FCS level. I will say this, though. I feel like I remember last year's Utah, Florida. I couldn't tell you the previous years before that, but I kind of feel like we always get a pretty good matchup of two power conference teams going at it in that Thursday night game. And we don't really have that this year. The biggest power conference game is Minnesota, North Carolina, which I think North Carolina, I think, is supposed to be pretty down this year. In Minnesota, I mean, with PJ Fleck, I mean, they were just one of those programs where they might be, 8-9 win teams. It might be like a 4 or 5 win team. This is kind of how the job at Minnesota goes. You build up, you got to rebuild again once you finally do build up. So I don't really know what Minnesota is this year. So that game doesn't. I mean, I'll watch it. I'll have my eye on it, but it doesn't really draw the needle for me. But North Dakota State, Colorado definitely does. I just hope that one's a good game because, like I said, like last year we had Florida, Utah, and that game was awesome. I mean, Salt Lake City, SEC, Pac-12. Last year the Pac-12, and I mean, we just don't really have kind of that marquee, circle of matchup. I mean, that game this year is Colorado, North Dakota State. It's FBS versus FCS at the end of the day.
Yeah, I was trying to look at the line there. Colorado is a 10-point favorite in that game. Over under is 60.5. Pencil me in for North Dakota State plus 10. I don't have much faith in Colorado. Plus, I think those programs like North Dakota State and then obviously Oklahoma State's going to be taking on South Dakota State. Those are two of the best programs in the FCS. So look, they can play ball too. Just because they're at a lower level doesn't mean they can't play ball.
This is, I keep getting asked, from my buddies and stuff, and I've even had some people like tweet or DM me, like, are you nervous? Like, well, obviously, like, yes, I'm nervous for OC. Like, South Dakota State can win this game. I will say though, one real quick, I do kind of like the under in the North Dakota State Colorado game. Just because I think North Dakota State's going to play a slow brand of football, try to run the ball, and I think they will stop Colorado a couple of times. I won't bet it though because I don't like betting I'm not going to bet the under on the first big 9 o'clock.
You can't.
That's un-American. That's un-American. Un-American. That has to wait for week 2 at least. But with South Dakota State, I will say this. One, the South Dakota State coach came out and said today, he's like, we're playing to win. We're not playing for moral victories. We're not going in there to play and say, well, we only lost by 4 to one of the better teams in the country. Like they're coming in to win, and obviously that's a mindset they need to have. I mean, I wouldn't respect it if they wouldn't like, we're playing for moral victories today. But what kind of leadership is that? But I will say this: OSU is one of the oldest college football teams in history. Just because of like the transfer portal or the COVID year and the portal, just retaining all these guys. They're one of the oldest teams. They have the oldest offensive line, I think, of college football history. They're one of the most veteran-laced teams in the history of college football.
Yeah.
I am confident in that OSU is not going to go out there, especially after getting blown out by South Alabama at home last year. I'm confident that OSU is going to be ready to play. That doesn't mean I think it's just like guaranteed OSU is going to win. But I think they're going to be confident. If OSU loses a game, I don't think it's going to be a case of they weren't ready to play. Like South Dakota, South Alabama last year was just like, the team wasn't ready to play. The coaches weren't ready to coach. Everything was just like, what the hell was that? I don't think that's going to be the case for South Dakota State this year. I think they know this is a real opponent. I think they'll be ready to play. I don't think they're going to take their foot off the gas if they get, a 10-point lead in the third quarter. Not to say South Dakota State can't win, but I think that is a nice little advantage that OSU has as being a veteran team. If this was 2 years ago, 2 years ago, it was a pretty good team. But if this was a younger team, if everyone was a year or two younger, I'd be a lot more worried than I am right now.
Oklahoma State 10-point favorite in that one. We will on Thursday. We'll do a preview of OU in OSU's games this coming Friday and Saturday. I'm going to be down in Norman. I haven't been to a home game for OU in like 2 years. I went to the Alamo Bowl, so I won't count that as going to a game since they lost that one. So I'll be down in Norman enjoying some drinks and watching some football. It should be fun, and then you'll be up in Stillwater on Saturday. So we got you covered from every angle. Saturday's games. There's 3 games that I put on here to chat about. Two of them are ranked games against ranked opponents. The other one is one of the more interesting games that I'll be watching for sure. First one, Clemson versus Georgia. That one going to be played in Atlanta. What are your thoughts on that one?
I think Clemson's going to be decent this year, but I think Georgia's just going to steamroll them. Everything from what I've heard of Clemson is they didn't use a portal at all. I mean, we all know that they didn't use a portal at all. Not one guy was brought in from the portal for Clemson, so they're just going to have to rely on young guys. And I know they still recruit well and stuff, but in this day and age of college football, you still need to hit, even if you're recruiting at the top of the college football every single year, you still need to hit the portal to help fill some gaps with just even if it's just for depth or veteran experience, right there. So I think Georgia. What's the spread in that game, Preston? Do you have it in front of you? I can look too.
I do 48.5. Georgia favored by 13.5.
I'll take Georgia. I think Georgia's going to win that game about 38-20 or something.
Yeah. I'm with you. I want to see Clemson, see how they play. Just again, portal stuff, NIL, so everything that's gone on there at Clemson. I want to see how they play. And unfortunately, playing the number one team in the country your first game isn't going to give you much of a chance to kind of show off things, because I think Georgia's going to be pretty good this season.
Yeah, they're going to come out with a chip on the shoulder too.
Oh, for sure. Yeah,
they didn't like the way last year ended.
Exactly. Yes. And like Nick Saban said on Saturday on game day, the only team that's beat Georgia the last handful of years is Alabama. So Nick Saban had to sneak that one in there.
They haven't lost a regular season game since like 2020.
Yeah, which is crazy. They've only lost to Bama in the playoffs, or in the SEC championship game. Mm-hmm. Shout out Harry in the chat. I did run into him at an OU game a couple of years ago. Yeah, I'll be down there. I'll be looking for you this weekend or this Friday, Harry. We can get a picture. The next game I want to talk about, the most intriguing game this weekend to me, is number 8 Penn State at West Virginia. I really like West Virginia this year. Penn State, I'm always bullish on, just because of the way that they've handled business the last decade or something. It feels like however James Franklin's been there at Penn State. On the road in Morgantown for your first game of the season for a top 10 team in the country, for a West Virginia team who they won 9 games last year. I can't remember how many they won, but they had a decent bounce back season. Green, I can't remember his first name. Quarterback is a pretty decent. Yeah, Garrett Green's a pretty decent quarterback to them. I think you're right. So yeah, I mean, Penn State opening things up in Morgantown against West Virginia.
I love West Virginia. I'm with everything you said right there. I think West Virginia is a really good football team this year. The only reason I don't have them competing for the Big 12 this year is because of that schedule they have. I don't know if you've seen it, Preston. It's a gauntlet. It's a gauntlet for anyone. They have a stretch at the beginning of the year where they play Penn State, Pitt, and they play
Kansas, at Oklahoma State after that, Iowa State, who's going to be okay, K-State, who a lot of people think are going to win the conference, Arizona, who's a top 25 team, and then it
cools off from
calms
there.
down after there. Yeah,
but that opening, Penn State, Pitt, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, not even including Iowa State, 4 are the top 5 favorites in the Big 12 conference in your first 6 out of your first 8 games. I mean, that's a gauntlet for anyone. That's a tough schedule. So I'm with you. I think they are going to be a really good football team. The only reason I don't have them competing for the Big 12 is because of that schedule. I think they're going to probably get 2 losses, if not 3 in the conference. So, but Morgantown, Penn State, I mean, that's just setting up for some college football magic right there.
Yeah. I mean, look, let's burn some couches there in Morgantown this weekend. I think that'll be a good game. Penn State favored by 8 right now against West Virginia. The other game I wanted to talk about is I think game day is going to be there, so they think it's going to be the game of the week. I think it has potential to be a game of the week as well. That is number 7 Notre Dame at number 20 Texas A&M. The fighting football Jesuses roll down to College Station to take on the cult that is Texas A&M. And right now, A&M is favored by 3 points in that ball game.
I'm really interested in this game, Preston, because I think Notre Dame, for me, is one of the more overrated teams in the country. I still think they can. With that said, I think they can make the playoff because their schedule is fairly easy. Yeah. If they go 10-2, they could probably they'll get in just because they're Notre Dame. I'm depending on everything else shakes out, but I think Notre Dame ranked seven's pretty high for them right now. So I think they're a little overrated. I think A&M, and I don't think they should be ranked higher than they are. I wouldn't even care if they're unranked going into the season. Like I don't care about really their preseason ranking. I think they're going to be more like not underrated because we don't know what they're going to be, but one of those teams where it's like I'm not going to be shocked if they go 9-3 and they're fighting for a last second playoff berth.
The only thing they have going for them, though, is their schedule is rather easy. After A&M, they don't play another ranked team until November the 9th in Florida State, which, who knows what they're going to be by that point. They also play Georgia Tech.
Yeah, I think Florida State is.
Go ahead.
Oh, sorry, I was lagging there. I didn't hear anything you said. I think Notre Dame is probably gonna sneak into the playoff. Even though I do think they're overrated, I think they'll get smacked in the playoff. But I think they'll make it in just because that schedule, like you said. And I just think A&M is kind of one of those teams where it's like they still have a lot of really good players. They have a returning quarterback who's pretty good, and I think they got a football coach who's thrown a lot of that BS away that A&M's had over the last 10 or so, kind of since they've entered the SEC.
A&M's problems are just like Texas's problems. They have too many people with their fingers on the pulse there when it only needs to be the head football coach that's running the football program. It's the same issues.
And I think they got that.
Yeah.
I think they got that right now. And I think A&M, that Johnny season, that first year in the SEC, kind of just like brainwashed them to what they could be. And they try to keep getting with Kevin Sampson, Kevin Sumlin. Yes,
yeah,
Kevin Sumlin. I will kept wanting to say Kevin Sampson. I was like, well, I know that's not right. And then they hired Jimbo and overpay him. Obviously, they're trying to get that to work too. And I think maybe like they maybe like learned a lesson through all this because all is quiet in College Station right now. All is quiet in College Station right now. So I think they have a chance to be a pretty decent team. So I'm very excited to watch that game.
It won't be quiet if they beat number 7 Notre Dame. I'll tell you that right now.
No. Look,
they will be shouting from the rooftops.
As much as I want to be right on Texas A&M, and I want them to be like, I told you if they finished 14th in the country, like they're right there. As much as I want to be like, yes, I was right. Look at me. God help us all if that's the case. God help us all if that's the case. Because they will become insufferable fast.
A&M has a decent schedule. I wouldn't say it's easy, but it's definitely not like super hard. I mean, they play
it's a middle Florida, of the pack SEC schedule.
Yeah, versus Missouri, versus LSU. So they have those two at home, and they go on the road to Auburn, and they play Texas at home. That rivalry getting renewed at the end of the season. I did have one other game I wanted to mention. Give a shout out to one of my friends. I'm trying to get back to where that game was at, if I can pull it up, because I might pick this just for one of my best friends. He's on the strength staff down at Abilene Christian. They take on Texas Tech. So, I might put that as my upset of the week just in support of a good friend. Yes, that's
I had a buddy that played there.
Go Cats. Texas Tech, a 33.5 point favorite. So maybe we could just cover the spread there for that game.
Just cover, baby.
We might take that as a win. So shout out the Wildcats at ACU. Couple more college football topics. Dion being Dion, he banned the media. If you say something bad and you're in the media there in Colorado, Dion's gonna ban you. He is banned. I don't even know who he banned because I didn't really even care because it's just the most Dion move ever. I'm like getting close to being just over with Dion there. I get what he's trying to do. He's trying to drum up interest from people. I just think this is kind of not the move you should do, trying to ban the media from asking you questions because they report on things within your football program. And I know you're not a big fan of Dion. So what are your thoughts on Deion Sanders banning media members?
I mean, it's one, obviously it's my thoughts on it is just what a clown. Like, get over yourself. if anything, just pull a Mike Gundy and just yell at them or something. Like at least Gundy didn't ban Jenny Carlson from coming to Stillwater anymore. If they just yell at them or do, call them out, But instead, you're just gonna be like, nope, can't come here anymore, and that sets up a dangerous precedent too, because now all these beat reporters and stuff that cover Colorado, if they go too hard on them after they lose 3 games,
it's just gonna be softballs. That's all he's gonna get,
and that's So just a clown, just a total clown. I'm kind of stuck between a rock and a hard place because I don't want Dion to succeed. I want him to fail miserably at Colorado. But obviously, I have the self awareness enough to know what the Big 12 is, and I think Dion does help the Big 12 just have a little bit extra bit of credibility, and maybe not even credibility is the right word, but some attention surrounded by it, and get some publicity. So I think he is good for the Big 12, but at this point, I'm convinced he's not going to be at Colorado in 3 years, even if he has great success. So just crash and burn,
Yeah, for sure. And Derek on Facebook says, OSU fan here. I'm worried about our game Saturday. South Dakota State is a good team. The offense will score. Worried about the defense. Look, you're the resident OSU guy here. So what are your thoughts on Derek's worries this Saturday?
Derek, I was just talking earlier. I think the one thing OSU does have going for them is this is a very veteran-laced team. Gundy and the players have talked about we can't mess around with this team. I think they're going to go in fully prepared, like they would be for Arkansas the next week, or if West Virginia come to town, or when they take on TCU or Utah. I think they're going to be very prepared. Not to say South Dakota State can't win. I don't think that automatically means OSU is going to lose, but I do think that OSU is going to come into the game very prepared. So if that helps you rest a little, that's just kind of what I've convinced myself.
And here's the thing, T-Bag. Going back to that South Alabama game last year, they didn't play Ollie Gordon, which was dumb. They had 3 quarterbacks, I think, playing that game, maybe 4. I can't remember correctly, but I know that for sure they started 3 quarterbacks the first handful of games the last season. They're not doing that this year. They know Mike Gundy has finally figured out what he has in Ollie Gordon, and I'm almost positive he probably knew last year. He just didn't play him for some reason. And then they have Bowman at quarterback, who's played the basically rest of the season last year. So I not necessarily worried. I know South Dakota State's a good football team, a good football program, but if OSU does what they need to do and what they're supposed to do, they'll win that game by 15 to 20 points, somewhere in there.
Yeah, I think my sentiment right now, it's game week. This is when you start thinking about the game and stuff coming up. And I think my sentiment right now is I'm aware of what South Dakota State is. I respect what South Dakota State is. I think South Dakota State could, emphasis on could, win this game. I'm walking into Boone Pickens Stadium to my seats on Saturday, full on expecting OSU to win. That's just where if this team is as good as we think they are, they're going to beat South Dakota State. If they're as good as we think they are, they're going to beat South Dakota State. And if they don't, it doesn't necessarily mean the season's a wash. We saw them bounce back from South Alabama last year. It doesn't mean the season's a wash or anything. But if OSU fans think this team is as good as what every OSU fan thinks it could be, OSU should win. Not saying they should win by 40, 30. They should win between that 10 to 20 range. They should. That's what they should go out there and do, and that's what I expect them to do.
Yeah. Derek also says, offensively, I think we're fine. Just worried about second year under Nardo.
I think the defense is going to be really improved this year.
They returned so many guys for them to not be good.
And they have a couple. There's Kendall Daniels is a
stud.
Going to be more than likely an NFL guy. Nick Martin's an NFL guy. Colin Oliver's an NFL guy. I think the defensive line is kind of iffy. I think they're going to be good, not great. They'll be solid. And I think the secondary is going to be much improved. We saw the flashes with the defense last year. They won OSU some games last year. They stepped up in some big time moments when they had to. So I think they're going to take a big step this year. I'm not saying they're going to be a top. I don't think they'll even be a top 20 defense, but if you can have them in that 20 to 30 range, I think that's doable for this defense.
For sure. All right, last college football topic I want to get into before we get into a little bit of NFL, and then we got some MLB, and then we'll round it off with Thunder. Connor Stalions documentary drops. If you're into the Untold documentaries on Netflix, they just dropped a Connor Stalions one over the whole Michigan cheating stuff, sign stealing stuff. We're not going to spoil it just because we know it came out today. But ESPN did drop a little something today and basically said that Stalions, says that he didn't advance scout for other teams, meaning he wasn't on the sidelines. He didn't have people in the stands looking at other teams, which I don't know if I believe it 100%. There was some stuff in that documentary I won't get into that I kind of just didn't really believe, but I thought if it's definitely one of those things where it was a story last year and now we have a documentary where it seems like we would have to wait like 10 years normally for something like this to come out. So all this stuff is still like fresh on our minds, I guess you could say. So I don't know. I don't really care. I'm over it at this point.
I'm over it too. The documentary I've seen. I was telling you before this. I still got 30 minutes to go. It's an hour like 40. So I've watched the vast majority. I'm at the part to where they're getting to the Ohio State game from last year. What and like Preston said, we don't want to spoil everything. What I will say is all the memes we saw last year about, he's doing everything in his life for Michigan football. He's like, yes. Like he went to the Naval Academy and joined the Marines because he's like, for me to be a good football coach for Michigan one day, like a military background is going to help me a lot. Like he sacrificed all of that for Michigan football. When the stuff came out, he's willing to take the grenade. Like he's like, I will jump on the grenade for all this. Like he through and through Michigan football.
And I had completely forgotten that at the time when all of it came out, he just kind of said, I'm going to fall on the sword for everyone. I completely forgot about that until
they showed his manifesto. Not all of it, but they showed some of it. And he's like, I'm not showing all this.
Again, spoilers if you haven't watched it yet, turn us off for 30 seconds because this will be the last we talk about it here, right now. But the recruiting sheet that he had, T-Bag, did you see that? Of all the players that have been in the NFL from whatever region, all the schools, you got to put in some time to do that stuff. That's just insane, the brain that guy has. And obviously he was, Marines and all that stuff. So it's kind of, he's an intelligent guy, for the stuff he did in the Marines and stuff like that. But golly, man, that recruiting stuff is crazy.
Yeah. I'm excited to finish it because I think the end of this documentary is probably going to be the best part is when they get through the Ohio State stuff.
Yeah. All right, we'll move on now from all of that and get into the National Football League stuff going on around the NFL. Some former Sooners get cut. Some former Sooners make rosters. Drake Stoops gets cut from the Rams. Jalen Redmond makes the Vikings 53-man roster. And I guess we could say a former Sooner got paid too as well, T-Bag, as CeeDee Lamb finally gets his deal inked with the Cowboys. 4 years, $136 million, $38 million signing bonus. It's about damn time, right?
Yeah, it's crazy they took this long. Like, you couldn't have done this 4 weeks ago, even 3 weeks ago,
Exactly.
even 2 weeks ago.
And the thing is, they knew what they were going to pay him, and they still took forever.
I'm no Cowboys fan, don't get me wrong, but I'm glad they got it done because it was just getting ridiculous at a certain point. It was like, come on, like, what are you doing? But yeah, CeeDee Lamb obviously gets paid. I'm really happy for Jalen Redmond. He's a local kid.
Midwest City guy.
Yeah, and he obviously had some health scares at his time at OU. I think it was heart, maybe.
Yeah.
So it has some like heart scares and stuff. So I'm really happy that he was able to make a roster. It's fun rooting for the local kids whenever they get to the league.
For sure. And then Drake Stoops gets cut from the Rams. He'll probably end up back on the practice squad.
Drake Stoops is I've had this from the day I realized how good he was at OU. Maybe this exact take was probably more after the draft last year and stuff. He's going to be a guy. He's going to get into a training camp. He's probably going to get cut. Maybe he'll make the roster. I think I was about 50-50 on that. I think he's definitely 100% going to be on the practice squad, and I think he will be playing in an NFL game this Sunday this year. And I think there'll be a couple seasons going forward. I think he's just probably going to have to develop a little and learn the NFL game and how to use his skills at the NFL level. I definitely still think Drake Stoops is going to be a NFL player. How long, I don't know. I'm not saying he's going to have a 10-year career, but I wouldn't be shocked if for a full season or two he's on an active roster.
Yeah, I wouldn't mind my Chargers picking him up. He's already out there in LA.
Yeah, because that's a move.
Sign him, put him in the slot. Don't to start him, but I would like to see him in that offense. Some other stuff with the Dallas Cowboys. Dalvin Cook is going to meet with the Dallas Cowboys. Probably a move that would have moved the needle about 3 years ago.
Yeah.
I think we kind of saw what Dalvin Cook was. Again, I will say this before I say, he wasn't that good last year in New York. They just didn't really have an offensive line in New York last year. He was, good leading up into his last season with the Vikings, and then kind of split carries there with, what was it, Madison, I believe was the tailback there that he split carries with. So he probably still has some to give to the game, but it's not the needle mover that you'll want if you're a Cowboys fan in that running back room.
It doesn't change my opinion on the Cowboys at all. I mean, like you said, 3 years ago, we're like, wow, that's a big get.
Yeah.
Now it's just like, you're going to have two aged or two washed running backs out there. So,
yeah. And it's so crazy that's, these guys aren't even like 30 yet. We're talking about them like they're 40 playing running back. Last thing in the NFL, per Josina Anderson, Trent Williams wants to get paid. And I stand with Trent. I would also like to get paid. So join the club, Trent. He's looking for a massive deal, T-Bag.
Yeah. I mean, I think the Niners need to do it. I think Brandon Ayuk, I think he obviously, decreases their odds to win a Super Bowl if they don't have him. But I think if they don't have Trent Williams on that team, and they're definitely in the win now mode, if they don't have Trent Williams, I think that completely nearly diminishes their chances at a Super Bowl, because Trent Williams pretty much is that offensive line right now. So
he says he's not going to show up until he's got a contract. So who knows how long that goes?
He's 36 years old. He's already made money. He could also just be like, I'll retire. Like, it's fine. I can retire too. It's like, pay me or I'll just retire. Like, which I don't know necessarily why he'd do that, but that's definitely something he could threaten them with.
Oh, for sure. And I'm sure that's going on in those talks that they're having in, behind the scenes and stuff like that. So I just kind of like the CeeDee Lamb stuff. We still got 2 weeks before the season starts. I'm sure something will get done. He'll be, playing there. I'm sure they'll work something out with Brandon Ayuk as well, because, those guys want to play football and they want those guys to play football for them, or, get something in return for them to where they can go play football. So something will get done with Trent Williams. And the 49ers, I don't think they're going to get rid of him. I don't think they can get rid of him there. They need him to help out with Brock Purdy blocking and all that.
Yeah.
All right, let's get into some MLB. I know MLB is not the hottest topic in sports, since about the 90s. But this was a pretty cool thing that happened, I guess, at the end of last week. Shohei Ohtani joins the 40-40 club. Becomes the sixth player to join the 40-40 club. If you don't know what the 40-40 club is, that's 40 stolen bases, 40 home runs in a season. Jose Canseco, which, by the way, follows me on Twitter, for those out there. I was just sitting in bed one night, and I got a random follow from Jose Canseco. Says, all right, cool. Barry Bonds, A-Rod, Alfonso Soriano, Ronald Acuna Jr., and then Shohei Ohtani are the six players in the 40-40. That's not really what I want to talk about, T-Bag. Shohei Ohtani could be the first player to join the 50-50 club.
Yeah.
In MLB history. Again, that's 50 home runs and 50 stolen bases. I believe at last check yesterday, he was at 41 home runs and 41 stolen bases, 40 home runs, one of the two. It's one of those. So he only needs 9 or 10 of each to get there, and there's still a whole month or two left of the baseball season.
Yeah, he's probably going to shatter that record, and it's just very impressive how Shohei Ohtani this year, was he's hurt, so he can't pitch, and he's just like, all right, because he was already one of the best pitchers in the MLB, one of the best hitters in the MLB. He's like, all right, I was going to become one of the best stolen base guys ever in the MLB. So it's just unreal what he's doing. He could very well go down as the greatest baseball player of all time when it's all said and done, especially after this season where we're like, oh, he can steal too. Like, he can steal these bases too like this. Like,
yeah.
It's nuts.
He can do everything. He's
everything.
Very much worth the money he's getting paid.
I don't know if I want to hear your thoughts on this too, because I've heard it a few times now. and I'm rooting for it just as a baseball casual. It's got to be a Yankees versus Dodgers World Series this year, I think.
I mean, that's what the
They got
MLB is
two
going to want, right?
guys. They got two guys with Shohei and Aaron Judge just having unreal seasons right now. Obviously, just massive brands and massive markets. MLB needs it. I mean, last year, I know everyone loves the Rangers around here. I like the Rangers. Not necessarily a Rangers fan, but I got nothing against them. Other than the fact they're from Texas and the DFW area specifically. But that and the D-backs, who D-backs obviously aren't a huge
Yeah.
brand in
No, I
MLB.
mean that was never going to pull
MLB
any
needs
numbers.
it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
MLB would love it, and I would love it just as a casual baseball fan to see a Yankees Dodgers World Series.
So as someone that holds on by every win and loss of their baseball team, and I don't watch any because I can't because the MLB is so stupid with their rules. I hate the Dodgers. I hate the Yankees with everything in my body, but I do want to see that as the World Series because I think, like you said, that's going to bring the numbers that the MLB wants. That's going to bring the viewers. Your two best players facing off in the World Series. And baseball is the game that I grew up playing. I didn't really play any other sports, so I love the game of baseball. So I want nothing more than to see the game of baseball back in the spotlight. They've done all the things over the years to change the rules, make the game shorter, make it more watchable. So we need something now like two guys that have hit 60 home runs, or one guy that's hit 60 and one that's hit 50 in the World Series. I think that would be an absolute blast to watch.
Yeah, I'm rooting for it. I think it would be fantastic to watch, especially whenever we're going to be, World Series Thunder and football is going to be
Oh, yeah.
it's going to be going on. Just to have that on top of all of it would be great.
Oh, for sure. Judge 51 home runs right now. Otani 41. Otani has 40 stolen bases, so he needs 9 home runs, 10 stolen bases, and let's see how many games they even have left. They've got to have like 20 games left or something like that. You know what? That's going to be too much to do. We'll forget about that.
Too much math right now.
Yes. I'm not a math guy. All right, moving on to our last topic of the night. One that most people probably don't want to hear, but the Thunder are back on Bally Sports in 24 and 25. The NBA, I guess, has accepted the deal or something with Diamond Sports, who bought out all the regional stuff for a bunch of teams, and that includes the Thunder. We've seen teams like Phoenix and Dallas move to a more local broadcast, kind of like we saw the Thunder do towards the end of last season with their Friday night games. With channel 9 on channel 43 or 34, whatever it is. But yeah, Thunder are back on Bali.
Yeah, I mean,
that's the way I felt too, because fortunate enough, I get the subscription through work and all that. I can watch the games up there while I'm working them. I don't have to worry about it. I took the paper clip, I put it in the back of the TV there in the producer suite there at the Sports Animal. I popped on the Thunder games on Friday nights. We eventually got an antenna in there, but I think they were too worried about my my paper clip might catch something on fire or something.
Yeah, fire hazard.
They got an actual antenna in there, but I think eventually the Thunder will probably move into a more local thing. I think that is, if they could find a way, right, on to put it on like a Channel 9 or one of the big Fox, CBS, NBC during prime time, which it's tough because again they have these shows that they have to run for the networks and all that stuff. But if there's some way they could work that out, man, that would be awesome. To just, all the games are free to everyone as long as you got a pair of bunny rabbit ears, or you got I guess at that point it would be YouTube TV. You'd be able to watch all your cable subscriptions as well. So hopefully that's the way they go. But yeah, I'm 50-50 on Bali, because sometimes the app works, sometimes it doesn't. So I'm 50-50 on it.
Yeah, I'm kind of the same way. I've only I probably watched, there's 82 regular season games, probably watched 65 to 70 on Bally.
Yeah.
Obviously you can't catch them all, kind of thing, and sometimes it'd be at a bar or something watching as well. Out of those, let's just say 60, 65 times that I was watching on my Bally subscription, I was gonna go 55 of them. You know, I never really had problems. My roommate, it was weird. I think it's kind of almost like a TV by TV case because last year my roommate, we had two TVs in our living room, and my roommate's TV always had problems with the app, but mine never really did. The most
Yeah.
problems I would have, I think it was either like a total system, like everyone was having problems,
Yeah.
or like it would just log me out randomly and I'd have to log back in. And they have this dumb login where you have to just manually type it on your remote instead of just like a QR code or something. So I'm indifferent on it. I want them to move just because I know everyone else has problems with the app,
Yeah.
and so I would like to see that happen. But for myself personally, selfishly, it's whatever to me.
Yeah, and I mean, it's not rocket science. If you want more fans watching your game, make it more watchable, more easy to watch. I think that's something the MLB could take note of, and I think the NBA is grasping that. So I think in the coming years, it'll probably be a little more accessible to the fans. So hopefully that is something that we see. So all right, yeah, Thursday we'll be doing OU OSU previews. Friday, obviously OU plays Temple. I'll be down there in Norman for that game. Saturday, Oklahoma State takes on South Dakota State. T-Bag will be up there for that one. So if you're out and about at the games, you see us, say hi. We don't bite. I'll talk back to you unless I've had one too many drinks, and I'll probably just be headed home in an Uber. So but yeah, that's gonna do it for us. Again, we'll talk to you guys on Thursday. Follow us on Twitter at Unadvised Pod, at Tyler's Takes, at Preston Pool 405. Have a great night, everyone.